The timing was fantastic on that. What's up, everybody? Listen, you're on the Glosso America YouTube channel, so you know what to do. You hit like, and then you hit subscribe, and then you turn on notifications, and then because it's the show, we get after it. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite average to good podcast. Call it what you want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Meola, and we have a hell of a show for you as always. First and foremost, we hope that you had a great weekend. Second, go Dodgers. I don't want to have any. Listen, I grew up in LA. I'm claiming the Dodgers. They're amazing. We're going to talk about the January camp. We're going to talk about notable weekend performances from Americans abroad. We got some injuries mixed in there. We got some coaches getting sacked abroad and here domestically in MLS. Everybody's getting sacked. And we got MLS playoffs to talk about. Lots to get into. But first, Big Tones, how was your weekend? And love your shirt. Call it what you want t-shirt. Limited edition.
Every time I put it on, I just wonder, is Jimmy or Charlie going to wear this thing all the time? Like I wear it like once every 3 months. We came on one day. Remember, we all three had it on. Yeah, the weekend was good. Obviously, I was up in Stanford, or as we call it, Stam Vegas, up there. And I was working with Charlie on was it Friday? I was working with you. I can't remember.
That?
Right, Thursday.
How was it?
Nice. We had dinner the night before. We went out, had a little Spanish tapas across the street from the hotel where we like. Just for the record, I ordered 2 tapas. Charlie ordered 12 of them. Yeah, it was good. Busy weekend, but yeah, looking forward to getting after it today.
Yeah, I look forward to getting after it as well. Chuck, explain yourself. 12 tapas is a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, I was hungry. I was in the studio all day, right? No food. I saved it for this dinner. I was looking forward to it with Tony. But incredible weekend too. My little guys performed extremely well. You know, when you sit back and you're just a proud coach because you're starting to see everything click with your players in terms of movement and first touch and anticipation. And for me, the positivity, if someone makes a mistake, hey, it's all right, we got it next time. Like, we set the culture. And I couldn't be more proud of the boys this weekend.
You guys ended up winning. You're kind of burying the lead here. You guys won a big game against your right. You win the league this past weekend?
No, there's no like league title, unfortunately.
Okay.
But there's a massive Thanksgiving tournament. So we have Red Bulls Academy coming up here. There's another academy from New Jersey coming up here. And all the local big teams. There's another team I got to give a shout out to in Rhode Island that have continually brought up players that have a good system. So I think, you know, it's a build up to that tournament, but top stuff. I mean, if you're looking at some good players, these young players now, they're starting to really develop. They're ahead of where we were at 9 years old. I can tell you that.
No question. Yeah, it's a lot to get into. My girls team, listen, we played in a tournament. We played a team 2 levels above us, and we took it to them in the first 15 or 20 minutes. I was I couldn't believe what I was seeing, playing and moving, good, clean confidence, clean passes. And we created a breakaway where my girl didn't shoot. The goalkeeper actually did a really nice job of stepping out, then stepping back, and it threw her off a little bit. Not to say we would have went on to win the game anyway. We lost 1-0, but there was just like you, there's the details, Chuck, right? You're seeing some things that you're really proud of, these little things you've been talking about, the details, and I was very excited about that, and we had a good tournament. It was fun to be a part of that. All right, speaking of tournaments, speaking about teams and players, let's get into this news. According to some scoop from Paul Tenorio from The Athletic, friend of the show, the men's national team coaching staff felt like a January camp wasn't very practical this year like it was the year before when Mauricio Pochettino had just joined. He needed a couple, he'd only been in charge for a couple of months. And I feel like now he's familiar with the MLS talent pool. He's feeling like he's more familiar with it. Had the January camp, had the Gold Cup, which is probably like a really early January camp for all the MLS player pool. And in consultation with MLS, it didn't feel like it made much sense for them as well, because they're going to start their preseasons in mid-January, right around the same time the January camp would be going on. And now, Big Tones, they're going to just push the January camp moving forward to December. So we just lose the January camp altogether, and I'm a little sad about it. But what are your thoughts overall, Big Tones, on losing this January camp?
Well, don't get sad. Just call it the December camp from here, a month before, right? Which I actually think I never really thought about this. I know that some of the club coaches hated losing their or not having their players for the first part of preseason, because how important that part is. And they always, it's not a fitness thing because they always did the fitness part in the national team camp. Like they took care of that part as if you were just going into preseason. But this makes more sense to me. Going in December, you might get some guys that play close to late November, maybe into that first week of December. They're in the camp. So you're not that far removed. So you won't have to do that much of the fitness part of it. You can focus on just doing the footballing part of it. And then in January, the MLS coaches get their team right from the start, right? Which is what every coach wants. So I'm all for this. I think it makes complete sense. The opponents were, it wasn't like January gave you the best chance to get opponents, right? Like you're always getting like second teams and all that stuff. So you're going to get the same thing in December. So that part doesn't really change. And I think you'll keep the MLS coaches happy.
All right, so the players that made an impact in the last January camp under Mauricio Pochettino, Diego Luna, the famous game where he got the broken nose and stuck a couple cotton swabs up it and kept playing, which I think won over the hearts of Mauricio Pochettino. Max Aaronson was part of that, and Patrick Agyemang. So clearly a couple players that he's relied upon over the last calendar year. Chuck, do you like this move? Does it make sense? Are you feeling the same as Big Tones?
Yeah, I'm feeling the exact same way as Big Tones. I mean, I also was a part of the January camp, and there's a lot of benefit to January camp in the sense that for MLS players, the break is way too long. If you don't make the playoffs, you have 2 months, 2.5 months to just chill. Think about it. You have all of October for the most part, November, December, and then January. So it's like a good 2.5 months of no competitive matches, let alone training sessions. So I think in that case, January camp always felt like it was just interfering with MLS preseason camp. So you came in and you did the fitness. So it wasn't that you came into MLS to your preseason with your MLS squad unfit or not sharp, but you did miss the first couple of weeks, which in some cases can be extremely important, especially now that the season for MLS has moved up to the end of February, whereas before, it was the second week of March. So I think in this case, Mauricio Pochettino has a good idea, good sense of what MLS is, who's in this league, and who he maybe sees could play a part in this World Cup, at least, in the competitive stages up into the World Cup, the camp, some of the friendlies. But I think by all accounts, he has absolutely given all these guys the chance to play themselves into the 26-man roster.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. I think that the camp in general has evolved over the years and maybe feels less necessary than it did before, especially off a calendar year of 2025, where he did have a Gold Cup. One of the values that I thought at the January camp was, and where I thought I took advantage of it, and I'll give you a cool stat here in a second, is that I got to be around the coaching staff for an extended amount of time. When you're around in a normal World Cup qualifying or a FIFA window, you have 6-7 days. I remember going into those after my January camp experience and going like, I've got no chance to do or outplay somebody because we're not going to have those types of trainings. Those guys are coming back from Europe. We're in the middle of our domestic league. There's no room to get after it and try to outplay someone to maybe sneak into the starting 11. The coaches have already decided pretty much who that's going to be based on their health and where they're at with regard to that. But the January camp and Gold Cups provide you that opportunity to be around the group in a meaningful way, which is where I think Mauricio Pochettino really saw a shift and maybe got some trust in some of the guys that he saw during the Gold Cup. Which
I want you to break down meaningful way. What are you thinking that means for Mauricio and his staff?
Well, so for me, when I got to go into camp in January 2005, which is crazy to say out loud, that's 20 years ago, but I knew that I needed to come in and it's an opportunity to demonstrate what you're capable off the field. How do you fit in with the group? And not that you have to try too hard. You just like, how do you assimilate into everybody else? And for me, I made it very simple. I didn't know I was doing this at the time, but we were teammates with Nick Garcia at Big Tones at Kansas City, and he kept getting called in over me. And that was fine because he had earned that. But once we both got into the same camp, I'm like, I'm just going to prove to Bruce that I'm the best defender in Kansas City. So I owe Nick Garcia a lot because I actually asked Chuck to be in his fitness groups so I could just outrun him the whole time. I kept it really simple, and I think that helped me kind of.
Oh, you sound like a great teammate, Jim.
Well, no, I mean I am a great teammate.
Hey, coach,
take care of yourself.
Hey,
I'm gonna
coach,
take care of myself here.
No.
Put me in the same group so I can run the hell out of this guy.
I'm a hell of a teammate, but at that particular moment, I knew that I needed to kind of all I wanted to say is like when he thinks of Kansas City, he thinks of me and Big Tones, of course, because Big Tones is a legend. But that was just one of those things that I had did. Yeah, you're competitive. You're trying to go in there and compete. But with that said, if they see your attitude and how you're approaching fitness, right? You're not going to do fitness in a international window. So this was a big opportunity. Like, all right, this guy cares. He's given everything that he has. Is he helping others? It's just these little tiny intangibles. Jimmy, it's hard to pick up another one.
The only question I have for you is, did you remove the sword from Nick Garcia's back yet?
I've told Nick this before. I've told Nick this whole thing, and I.
All right, so you've taken the sword out. Okay.
First time Jimmy's ever been accused of not being a good teammate was right here on Call It What You Want. 2025.
I'm not saying it. Listen, in that particular moment, we're competing for a spot on the national team. Like you either show up or you don't. And I decided I was going to show up and outrun these guys.
Hey, I love it.
Okay, listen. Here's a good stat that was also in this article from Paul Tenorio at The Athletic. Dating back to 1999, 30 players who have debuted or earned their second cap during a January camp have gone on to make a World Cup roster, and I am one of those 30. Now, of those 30, which I'm very proud of, 5 of them went on to earn more than 100 caps for their country. So all this camp cupcake crap that people say, this camp is very important. I know that Gooch had a couple quotes in this as well, CIWYW, saying that they still want to make sure that it's part of the U.S. soccer experience. Can you guys name those 5? 5.
Was Landon one of those?
Landon and Donovan. Everybody. Who jumped in, everybody.
I played in the first game. Yeah. I think it was Mexico 1-0 in LA Coliseum.
Kobe Jones.
So 5 of them went on to earn more than 100 caps for their country.
Kobe Jones.
Nope. Kobe Jones is not. Landon Donovan is 1.
Okay.
Go ahead. Anybody else?
Ryan McBride.
Nope. We're stuck on that.
Oh, wow.
So these are big names. Obviously they've got 100 caps.
Marcelo wasn't a January camp, was he? I don't think
this is dating back to 1999.
Forget it. Scrap. We came together. He was
1999.
So dating, that's when the January camps really got started in earnest. It was back in 1999.
I'm trying
30 players, or 5 of these 30 have earned more than 100 caps for their country. Landon Donovan. DeMarcus Beasley. Well done.
Okay. Bocanegra.
2 Chicago Fireboys, 98.
I'm coming in. Michael Bradley.
Don't tell me Clint Dempsey. Was Clint
Dempsey's in there. He joined in with me. I think he's part of the 05 class. Wow. Him and I both came in 05.
Who else?
There's one more.
Agus, maybe?
No, younger than all 4 of the other guys.
Josie
Altidore. Well played,
wow.
Chuck. So 5 of those players that started at the January camp went on to earn more than 100 caps for their country. Josie Altidore, DeMarcus Beasley, Carlos Bocanegra, Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan. Pretty significant 5. So I agree with Oguchi. I'm paraphrasing his quotes to say that this is an important vehicle for us to identify talent, continue to nurture talent, and give them a look. And sometimes other countries don't have that opportunity, and I think we should keep going. Obviously, I'm heavily biased because I took advantage of mine by clearly stabbing my teammate in the back, as Chuck wants to say. Overall, though, do you think it's a big deal? Tones, I'll come to you first, that we're not having this 6 months out, because it's still a chance to bring players together 6 months out before a World Cup?
No, I think it's actually a smart move because it, like we said, it gives them more time on the field, gives Pochettino more time on the field, it gives the players more time. Just think, if they didn't have a now December camp, I keep on to say January, they didn't have a December camp, they would just be substituting their preseason. They're actually adding days to being on the field for those guys that want to be part of a national team. And as you said, how important Pochettino talked about the Gold Cup was to meet all of these guys basically. And then, when you go into those kind of camps, just think, if you were a person that comes into the full team in an international break, the eyeballs aren't really on you. They're on the other guys that they're going to use probably more often than not. Right here, the eyeballs are spread all around, right? And they're learning a little bit about everyone. I don't know. I was trying to phrase the question like, who from this December camp is the most likely to get 100 caps. We don't know who's in the camp though, but we could use last January maybe. But I just think it's a different atmosphere to be in for these guys. But yeah, I mean, you benefited from it, right? I mean, you were beating up your own teammates for this spot, and that was it.
Well, I was trying to beat up on everybody ultimately. Honestly, I remember some other players that were in those camps, and I knew that I just needed to be a little bit better than they were every single day. And so to speak to your point, Chuck, like you just couldn't replicate that in the FIFA international window and have 3 weeks to potentially a month with the coaching staff for them to see what you're about and your daily approach to being a professional and how you are taking advantage of this opportunity.
I remember in my first January camp, it was more.
Wait, which one was that? Well, give us the year.
January 2009.
Okay.
And
I think I was there with you.
Yeah, you were. My roommate was Chris Wingert. But I think what stood out to me was that you had to show your habits.
Right.
And that's what they were studying your habits. How do you come into a meeting? Are you early? How do you warm up for a training session? Are you sharp? How hard are you on yourself? How hard on your teammates? How do you interact in these meals? Do you sit with different players? You sit at different tables? What is your energy like throughout the whole 3-week process? So they're studying every single move, and you have no idea. You're kind of just bopping around, doing what you always do, hanging out with your friends, but they're literally studying every single move. And this is my first January camp.
Keep that picture up. Who do you got there? You got Bornstein.
So we got Danny Califf,
Marvell Wynn,
Troy Perkins. Sasha Kleshin, by the way, scored a hat trick in this game. We played Sweden, so it was a pretty good January camp game, given it was a lot of the players I played against in the Allsvenskan.
Is that John Thornton?
You got Robbie Rogers, Brian Ching, Michael Parkhurst, Marvell Wynn, Ricardo Clark, and LAFC president John Thornton, sporting director, myself, and Johnny Bornstein. So the camp was intense. I remember Bob Bradley put a lot into this camp. And for me, it was just good to show, hey, throughout the weeks, every day in training, some days we had double sessions. I had to prove, I'm a fit guy. But more importantly for me, it was show your quality in front of goal often. And we're always playing small-sided, whereas what you talked about coming into a camp with all the European guys, you maybe have one practice session that is small-sided, but that's it. Then there's a walkthrough. There's a couple of trainings. You're doing maybe a few 11v11s, and that's it. And then you're into game mode. Right. Here is, hey, this is more of a training. We're getting you guys fit. We're testing your fitness. How serious do you take your career in your off season? You've maybe been off a month or 2 months. Well, we're going to put your fitness to the test. And, Pierre doesn't joke around. So Pierre had us doing some crazy fitness tests. I remember we were doing fitness tests one day. Marvell Wynn, is run with us. And typically,
he doesn't run, Chuck.
It wasn't sprinting, was it? Wasn't a sprinting?
No, it was long distance. We had to cover, I think it was like 2 fields, and the pace was like a minute 45. Like we were flying. And you have a couple of guys going, come on, guys, like after. And Marvel would be like, shut up, just shut up. And I was like, oh my God. Like he needed to focus, and he didn't want anybody talking. So Jimmy, you would have been in trouble. I think it was.
Yeah, I would have been in trouble. I actually wasn't there in 09.
Okay.
No. I was in it 2008 and 2010. I didn't do the 2009 January camp. Yeah, no. But those are great points.
Jimmy's on the sideline going, I beat you, Nick. See, you're still running. I'm not. I beat you.
I love that. What's interesting is that Chuck brought up Chris Wingert. Didn't you tell us a story in the last podcast, Chuck, about how you dove?
Yeah, I was flying over. I went flying over.
That's funny. We have the clip right here of you.
Oh my Lord!
Dive. How was that? I agree with.
Look at.
He's like, he's my roommate.
Oh man, you think like a bunny hop before he even got in there.
Hey, it looked pretty good, but I wasn't even trying to dive, to be honest. And yeah, if I could go back in time, I would say, hey, ref, he didn't touch me. I wasn't even diving.
I don't know. If you're a competitor, I don't know. You get your advantages. You take.
I am the ultimate competitor, but there's lines and I crossed the line there. So that's not
Wow. Look at him. It's
But
like
you
that.
thought you had him set up, right, for the contact?
I did.
I could tell by you cut inside a little bit, like
And I know Winger, he loves a tackle. He loves a sliding challenge in the box, out the box. So I knew it was coming, but he went to ground too soon. So.
Yeah, honestly, that's a pretty reckless tackle from Winger. He just needs to keep his feet moving.
Reckless.
It's reckless. We haven't brought that part of it up. Anyway, we're gonna take our first break and call what you want. When we come back, notable weekend performances from some Americans abroad. Don't go anywhere.
This is European soccer's biggest stage.
Written in the stars. What a difference she has made.
The question is, can you handle it?
Can you handle it?
The crowd here feels electric. Stream every match of the UEFA Women's Champions League on Paramount+.
All right, welcome back to your favorite Average to Good podcast. Call it what you want. We are now getting into Americans abroad. Notable weekend performances. Brendan Aaronson scored his second ever goal in the Premier League. He was named man of the match.
Hey, what a
2-1
performance.
win versus West Ham. Man of the match. He was so good. He was everywhere and very excited for him. Hopefully he can kick on and maintain this level. I think that's what will get him back into the conversation with Mauricio Pochettino. Serginho Dest, 90 minutes, 7 clearances and a 3-2 win over Feyenoord. That was a big game. Listen, if everybody's going to go back and watch highlights from the weekend, that was a very good game to go check out.
He's overcome his issue with Peter Bosch, huh? His late issue.
Yeah, that's right, which was a really big deal. And he made this play about 2 minutes into the game where one of his teammates gave up a bad ball like near the top of the box, and he was the one that, I haven't seen him switch that gear to play defense in quite some time. He got back in, he made the play, he won the ball back. A very cool moment, and more of that, please, especially as we get closer to next summer. Timothy Weah got an assist in Marseille's 2-1 loss to Lens, but he got subbed out with a thigh injury. We don't know how severe just yet, but Roberto De Zerbi, his coach, said that he's a little concerned, so I'll leave it there. Tyler Adams recorded an assist in a 2-0 win for Bournemouth, who are currently second in the Premier League over Nottingham Forest. Not only did he have an assist, he actually was part of the Olympico. They scored off of a corner where he gave a little nudge to Matty Sells, the Forest goalkeeper. That did enough to put him off, and they scored directly off a corner kick. So kind of involved in both of those. A really good performance from him and Bournemouth overall. We can talk about them in a second. Weston McKennie, 78 minutes, one chance created in a 1-0 loss to Lazio. After that game, we'll go to our resident Serie A expert, Tony Meola here. Igor Tudor, the Juve manager, gets sacked. Wow. So now Weston McKennie, kind of Groundhog Day for him. Rinse and repeat. He's got to now prove himself once again to a new manager. But before we get into, there's a great shot there from nice graphic from producer Dez, a little Groundhog Day. Here he goes again. He's got to prove himself. What do you think? What does this mean for Juve first? And then we can kind of bring Weston into the conversation.
Yeah, well, it's surprising. We at the desk on Sunday said we didn't think Tudor would get fired. Remember, this is not Juventus's way. This is not what Juventus does. They don't fire managers in the middle of the season. But they're 8 games now winless. I think it's the last 4 where they haven't scored goals in all comps. So, the writing was on the wall. There'd been some rumors in and around this move here.
But Tony, as an interim manager, right? He came in as an interim. I don't get how they gave him the keys, given he was an assistant to Pirlo, right? When Pirlo's tenure came to an abrupt end. So now he comes back in this interim role, and they expected him to succeed,
Well, he was the full-time manager. He got a 3-year deal. This is why it's not Juventus's way. Historically, they don't fire managers like this. And remember, this is a guy that had been at Lazio, he'd been in Turkey, where one of the big clubs. I think Galatasaray, I could be wrong there. Udinese, he was at Marseille, right? Right before this,
but after
coming back to Italy,
Thiago Motta, he was tagged as interim, right,
for the remainder of the season, and then in the summer they signed him to a 3-year deal. But it's just, if you just historically, Juventus doesn't fire managers like this, which is another wrinkle to the story. And as it relates to Weston McKennie, now you touched on it, Jimmy. Like, you got to go and prove yourself again. You would think, though, that if you're a new guy coming in, if you just looked at the last game, Weston was one of the better players on the field for Juventus in what was just a game that you literally could fall asleep during. Right. Lazio is about as boring as they get. And they made it. They get their goal. They made it really, really boring. And Juventus never really put their foot on the pedal. Couple of opportunities, but yeah, for West, this is yet again in a time where you want things settled down. He's in flux again, but I guess it's a badge of honor in a way that he's done it, Chuck, right? I mean, you're like, who better to prove another guy wrong at Juventus than Weston McKennie? Like, there's been nobody that's had to do what he's had to do.
The only positive I'll say in terms of having all these managers, it's a turnstile at Juve right now. And ever since the whole Cristiano Ronaldo project of, all right, we got Cristiano, we're going to move Juve forward. You felt that they were competitive, not only in Serie A, but Champions League. And now here we are. Weston thrived, I think, with Cristiano Ronaldo. It kind of gave a boost to everybody when you're playing with such an icon. But ever since then, as teams have changed, tactics have changed, Weston has always found a way on the pitch. Now, whoever they hire next, whoever comes in and they say, okay, this is our guy, he has an escape route in January. There is if this goes absolutely wrong, and no matter what he does, because I've seen it where managers say, hey, I'm going with certain players and this is that. There's no matter what you do, there's no turning back. I think Weston has proven himself enough that he'll have suitors come January and he could find a new spot if things aren't going according to plan or things aren't going in a way that he would expect. But I'm not going to be the one to doubt Weston after what he's done every year, given the number of managers who've come in, how many people have written him off. He finds a way back on the pitch.
Okay, so really quick on this, we'll put a button on it. Who do you think is going to get the job, Big Tones? I mean, they're looking at Roberto Mancini, who apparently was looked at before Tudor got hired as an option. I mean, he's managed Fiorentina, Inter Milan, and Lazio, so Juve fans can't be maybe too thrilled about that. And then you have Luciano Spalletti, who has a Napoli tattoo on his arm after winning the Scudetto with Napoli a couple seasons ago. And listen, I think both of those guys have won Scudettos. They know what it takes to win in this league, so they'd be good choices. But is there too much baggage of history with other clubs for Juve fans to really adopt those two in particular?
Yeah, and the other one that they're talking about is the young manager Palladino, who was at last at Fiorentina. Prior to that, he's the one that helped Monza come up to Serie A, right? He's one of those young managers that's highly regarded. But this is Juventus. You would think Mancini, somebody of that stature is the guy. If they think that's the long-term guy to take them to the next level, but I don't know the answer to the question, because it is a different Juventus. It's not different owners. It's still the Agnelli family that's been running this thing forever. Historic in Serie A football. I don't know. But I'm convinced that Weston is going to convince whoever it is. Yeah, like whoever it is, Weston's going to find his way back on the field at Juventus. Period. Assuming he stays at Juventus and doesn't go someplace else.
Okay, so that was the immediate drama. Let's get back to the name I first named, because you had a good reaction to him, Chuck. Brendan Aaronson was man of the match against West Ham. I wanted you to dive into his performance a little bit. That's his only second ever Premier League goal. The last time he did it was 3 years ago against Chelsea, if everybody remembers that one. He stole the ball and then dribbled it in. And it's kind of crazy to think it's taken him that long to score his next one, even though they went down and he went to Germany and so on and so forth. But let's just talk about this performance in particular, and what do you think this can do for him moving forward, potentially with Mauricio Pochettino?
Well, remember when his early days at Leeds under Jesse Marsh, that you felt, I remember like it was yesterday. He was playing against Thomas Frank's Brentford side, and after the match, Thomas Frank said, Aaronson is fantastic. What a player. Won his press, but he was getting on the ball. He was running past people. He was finding the right pass, making the right decisions, generating chances. And he was in rhythm. I remember I was, oh man, I was really impressed with how Brandon Aaronson took to the Premier League in the first, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. And then I think the pressure started to build. Jesse Marsch, the results started going the opposite way. And then his performances kind of dropped off from there. Now we're starting to see, I think last year in the championship, he didn't have a ton of assists. He didn't have a ton of goals. He wasn't, the difference maker in that way, but he played every game and he got a lot of minutes. We all questioned, okay, what does it look like for Brandon Aaronson now making the move to the Premier League? There's more money. You need guys who are going to get goals and assists in his position. And here he is in that first goal. The way that he's able to turn and explode past the midfield, break the lines, takes the deflected shot, goes in. For me, Brandon Aaronson is one of those kids that when he's feeling it, when he's on the ball and he's more decisive, he's an impact player. We always talk about if he can figure out a way to be a little bit more clinical when he gets those opportunities, but also those key passes to unlock, whether it's a back line that's sitting deep or a mid block and finding that slicing run from a winger or the number 9, that's when you're going to start to see a Brandon Aaronson that can help this national team moving forward. So for me, it's an incredible step in the right direction. Now, can we see consistency from Brandon Aaronson?
I think you're right. I think consistency is the key word. Now, Mauricio Pochettino has been in charge of the national team for 20 games. Brandon Aaronson has had 10 appearances. Of those 20, only started 4 of them. I think what's telling, Big Tones, is that he only got 136 minutes in the Gold Cup. He was part of the Gold Cup roster. So what we were talking about the January camp in the previous segment, he's been around the group and he's been around the coaching staff, and they only started him once throughout the tournament and didn't get that many minutes overall. There could be a number of factors with regard to that. But if he makes himself undeniable, this is his 6th start now in the Premier League for Leeds, and they're out of the relegation zone, and they look like they got good vibes about them under Daniel Farke. I still feel like he's 25 now, so we're kind of seeing what we're going to get now. I mean, he's still a couple years from peak, let's say, based on the science. But he's still a super sub for me. He's a guy that comes in off the bench and is just relentless in his tempo, relentless in his press, relentless overall. I mean, that's probably the best way I can describe Brandon Aaronson. He's just relentless when he plays. And I think when I talk to my friends that support Leeds, they wish he had a little bit more of a change in tempo. He could go fast, he could go slow. There's a little bit more savvy and nuance.
It's not a million miles per hour.
That's the thing. It's always a million miles an hour. And I think there's a situation or situations where Mauricio Pochettino could use him in a game in the World Cup where that could be really advantageous. But I feel like that's maybe the best case scenario for him in making this World Cup roster.
Yeah, I mean, you took the words out of my mouth. I see Brandon Aaronson as a substitute on the national team, maybe starting one game at in the World Cup at best. But a guy that, if he's in form, can make an impact. Then you're looking at guys like Luna, guys like Aaronson, guys like that are cut of that mold. Zendejas, those are the types of guys that he's competing with, in my opinion, for guys that come off the bench to make some kind of impact, depending on what the game needs. I mean,
they might as well throw in a Jack McGlynn too, because he's high on Pochettino's list in terms of how many.
Yeah, but that's my point.
Bench. Yeah,
yeah, that's my point. I just don't see any of those guys as like bona fide starters for this national team, assuming everybody is healthy, right? Mm-hmm. Assuming that everybody's available to Pochettino, unless you get to a third game and you're in already, you're gonna get some guys some rest, whatever the case is. That's kind of what I see his rhythm at the World Cup going to be. And it's a guy with World Cup experience too, so let's not discount that at all. But truth is that there were moments where you didn't think. There were moments, I bet, if we put our 26 players over the last year, that he wasn't in the 26. Like, he has to keep performing like this to be in the 26, in my opinion. He's in a tough position. When positionally, he's in a tough spot on the field to like overtake guys, because you're talking about the Tillmans of the world, obviously Pulisic of the world, like guys that play in those areas of the field.
Now
Zendejas coming up, Weston now. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough position. I mean, how many I don't know. We'd have to go break down the numbers, but if he was going to play with 2 and 1 up front, Pochettino, like we've seen in this 3-4-2-1 or however you want to slice it, it's 2 with a number 9. How many of those guys can he take? Right? He only takes so many of those guys.
So Leeds are currently in 15th in the Premier League. Here's their schedule over the next 6 weeks. So we want to talk about consistency. They play away to Brighton. They play away to Nottingham Forest. So you think on paper that they could get some success against Forest in particular. At home to Villa, away to Manchester City, home to Chelsea, home to Liverpool.
Woo!
I mean, if he comes through that and is
Man.
still like, cutting his teeth in man of the match areas, then we're talking about, all right, maybe Brendan Aaronson.
City, Chelsea, and Liverpool in a row.
Yes, City away.
Oh, they pissed somebody off in the scheduling
City
department
away
over there.
So this is like so November 29th, City away. December 3rd, Chelsea at home. December 6th, Liverpool at home. I mean, that is a hell of a week.
In a week. Holy cow.
That is 1 week. All right, let's talk about some stuff we'd rather not talk about. The injury list for Americans. We have Anthony Robinson, who's missed his last 3 matches with a knee injury. Obviously, he was in the October camp, and they got to assess him there and sent him back, knowing that he's got a knee injury. We'll hopefully have some more information on that moving forward. Tim Weah, as I mentioned earlier before, suffered a thigh injury, came out in the 53rd minute after having an assist in that game. I thought he did really well on the assist. And another big news here, Cameron Carter-Vickers is now set to miss 5 months with an Achilles injury. Not to say he couldn't get back in time, but even coming back from an Achilles injury, once you're clear, still takes a while to get fit. We saw that with Miles Robinson, who hurt his Achilles ahead of the World Cup run-up for the 2022 World Cup. And then we have Christian Pulisic, who's still out. And they're saying, though, Max Allegri, his manager at Milan, is saying, I think Pulisic could be back fit before the Parma game. Now, that's approximately November 8th, which means that would be the game before he would leave for camp. Resident Milan fan, Tony Meola, coming back to you on this. Do you think that I doubt Milan wants him to go, but do you feel like there's value in the U.S. bringing him back in, or do you just feel like, hey, listen, let's just make sure he's as healthy as possible?
Well, there's always value in having him there if he's fit. I'm setting my brain up for this is not knowing anything that Christian Pulisic's not going to be in November camp. I'm setting myself up already that Christian's not going to be there, that they're going to be sensible with him. If that's his first game back, likely doesn't mean 90 minutes in his first game back, right? So if you bring him back kind of like you brought back Anthony Robinson this last camp, right? Where you're around the group. He wanted to be around the group. He wasn't available to play. They wanted to assess him here on their own, get eyeballs on his injury here in the U.S. So you get a feel for where you think he is, and you're in communication with the club. But I'm setting myself up for we're not going to see Christian Pulisic in the November camp.
Okay, so I'll take that. I'll receive it, and I agree with you ultimately. I don't think we're going to see him either. However, Chuck, I'm receiving it. But that means we're not going to have this group of players or Christian involved with this group of players until March. That's 4 months not being around the guys, and that's significant. So, and Tillman could be out as well, right? Tillman's still coming back from an injury he suffered during the last camp, so we could not have Tillman available. I'm going to put my my weight on Tillman the same way that you described it, Big Tones. I'm just going to expect that he won't be there either. So, big opportunity for other players in the player pool, maybe even Brendan Aaronson. But man, that is a big gap of 4 months of not being around the group. And once you hit that March camp, obviously, it was all systems go.
What's 3 months and 4 months?
Yeah, all right.
If you told me, it's 4 months and then there's every 2 months, there's a camp, then I'd say, it's 1 month. And we are all going to come to an agreement that health comes first at this moment. We want our guys healthy come March, April, May into the World Cup. So if that means taking a little bit of a break for this window, absolutely take all the time you need, because we need them firing on all cylinders in club football, and then coming into March fit, hungry. It's been a while for all the guys, 3 months or 4 months, not playing with the national team, and the World Cup's right there. Your group, who you're playing against. There's real momentum. So for me, it's not a problem. And the benefit of the doubt is you get to see some depth. Mauricio Pochettino is going to test this window for depth for a guy like Pulisic, who you know is going to be your starter, your A1. Then you got to figure out A2, A3, A4, and what does that look like? Who can I trust to be, someone there if there's an injury during the World Cup?
No, for sure. And
I'm okay.
Great shot.
I'm absolutely okay with it.
Okay, so then let's play this little game. And everybody that's watching live here on the YouTube channel, Gloss America YouTube channel, you got to join in with us. Hit us up in the comments. Let's say Tillman and Pulisic are out. Who would be starting? I think if we had to pick a starting 11 for the World Cup, Pulisic and Tillman would be our number 10s in the new formation. Who do you think starts against Paraguay on November 15th with Tillman and Pulisic out?
In those two, you're saying?
10 spots.
In those
10
two
spots. Well, we could have it looks like Weah most
we're
likely
just
to be
talking,
out too.
Yeah, you just talked about Brendan Aaronson. Maybe he gets a run if he continues to form. You've got Zendejas, obviously. Who else is in those positions that we would see?
Weah, I mean, he could play there, but he's most likely out, even though we have him kind of slated to be a wing back.
Yeah, exactly. He could be out as well.
You could put Weston. He put Weston there over the 2 games. Weston's probably one of them.
Weston, Luna.
Weston and Luna.
He's played Luna there quite a bit. I mean, this would be a real test for Diego, again, against two quality South American World Cup.
Very difficult opponents from South America, for sure. For sure. I want to hear from the chat. What are you guys saying right now in the Australia game? Who did we have?
We got a lot of people in the chat saying, is this Gio's time? Does Gio get a look? Is Gio playing?
Can't even start for Borussia Mönchengladbach. So
right,
man, I read today. It was just funny. I was pulling that up as you were talking. I read today. There's like, I want to get it right here. 46 minutes in the last 5 games. 6 against Bayern Munich on the weekend, obviously, but it's not a lot of time. It's 46 minutes past 5 weeks for Gio.
Yeah.
That obviously includes nothing in the international window, but
I'd also say Yunus Musa in the last since October 4th.
Has he played?
He's got 16 minutes. His last game was October 4th
bring him in,
against Como. No.
So okay, then now Tyler Adams. Let's just talk about our midfield in general really quick before we get to our next break. You got Tyler Adams most likely coming back in, obviously in great form with Bournemouth. And again, shout out to Bournemouth, up the cherries for second in the Premier League right now. Andoni Iraola's fantastic manager. So he'll be back in. And then you wonder, okay, if maybe Tyler and Weston McKennie are now the 6s. Not that I don't think we will see it because it looked like Mauricio Pochettino wants to see him higher up the field. But that's an option. But I think Weston's going to be one of them. And then maybe Zendejas. It's between Zendejas and Luna is my guess.
Yeah.
If everybody's
Moose's numbers are just
Salt Lake
they're fading.
Well, Salt Lake, they're out of the playoffs, right? So Diego Luna's just going to be chilling here for the next little bit until these games come up. Obviously, he'll try to stay as fit as possible.
I hope he ain't chilling. I hope he's not chilling right now. He's running his ass off right now.
Running his ass off, just like I did way back in the day. All right, we're going to take our last break. I'll call it what you want. When we come back, we're going to get into some MLS coaching moves. Wow, lots of people getting sacked these days. And, of course, the MLS playoffs. So keep it right here.
You can't count on accurate expiration dates.
That is a rookie mistake.
Or the kindness of strangers. But thanks to CBS Sports, you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
All right, welcome back in to Call It What You Want. I am Conrad Dino alongside Tapas Chasing Chuck and Big Tones. That's a deep cut for everybody that was listening at the beginning of the show. He was hungry, everybody. He just wanted 12 tapas. Don't judge. All right, let's get into the MLS playoffs because most of the game ones have been completed. We have a couple that are still happening tonight. Charlotte FC is going to take on NYCFC, and then we're going to have LAFC taking on Austin FC. That's happening tomorrow, that last game. Just really stretching out these playoffs. I actually really appreciate being able to turn on a game every night. There's a good MLS game with something riding on it. And that's been a lot of fun. But let's look at what's happened so far. Philadelphia Union took down Chicago Fire in penalties. That one was 2-2. Pretty exciting. Inter Miami 3-1 over Nashville. FC Cincinnati beat the Columbus Crew yesterday. That was a really good game. I thought both goalkeepers were excellent. Both teams created some really good chances. That one's going to get 3 games for sure. On the Western Conference side, San Diego FC took down. I'm not a big Portland fan. I don't think they're very good. But
No.
San Diego FC did the job 2-1. Minnesota, whoo, that was a rough game to watch, but it went 0-0, and they won in penalties. Dane St. Clair making some saves, the post helping them out. And then you have Vancouver against the poor FC Dallas team. I can't watch FC Dallas right now either. But I'm just being honest with everybody. So I guess the big question is, for everybody watching as well live on the Gloss America YouTube channel, Chuck, I'll come to you first on this. Which team has impressed you the most so far from what you've seen here in the playoffs?
Inter Miami.
Yeah.
We talked about the form. For me, Messi seems extremely motivated. He wants this. He's playing. You could tell that Busquets and Alba want to end their careers with a trophy. It just feels that Inter Miami, we know how good Nashville are, especially at home. Back-to-back matches in Nashville, or now it's coming up to Nashville, but against Nashville, Inter Miami were phenomenal. So for me, they've been the most impressive. And I want to give a shout out to Mikey Varas in making that decision to bench, not even include Chucky Lozano in the squad. They handled it internally, but he wasn't in the squad. And let's be honest, Chucky Lozano is still a difference maker. Is he the Chucky Lozano that we saw in Europe at PSV or Napoli? No, but in MLS, he's still a difference maker. So you're taking out one of your impact players in a playoff game. That's a massive decision.
Yeah.
And they got the result. So it seems like that was the punishment and the consequences of that type of action. And from what I understand, he may be included now for the rest of the playoffs. And he made the right decision there.
I've been thinking about it a little bit more. And you guys gave me a hard time. I'm on the fence and blah. I think that Mikey Varas, upon reflection, should be MLS Coach of the Year. I believe that Jesper Sorensen in Vancouver inherited a pretty solid team. There was a nice core there. Brandon Carnell also inherited a nice core of players at Philadelphia Union. Mikey Varas had to do that from scratch, baby. He had to put all that together from scratch. And obviously they made some good signings. Shout out to Tyler Heaps and the whole front office for putting together a very good team so they could be competitive right from the get-go. But that's no guarantee that that's going to work. So the more I think about it, and obviously the records that they've accomplished, it's really hard to deny Mikey Varas his flowers as the best coach in MLS in terms of the situations that all 3 of those coaches that I think.
Who did you say last time was Coach of the Year for you?
I don't know if I actually gave an answer.
I don't think you did. I was trying.
That's exactly right. That's part of my job.
Okay, I was just checking if now you're flip flopping, but
I'm not flip flopping.
For me, Sorensen, in large part, is kind of being measured for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and that is not within the MLS Coach of the Year parameters, right?
Yeah,
so you have to take that out of consideration, even though that sticks in your mind. Wow, they won CONCACAF Champions Cup. You know, that's a massive accomplishment. But when I look at what Mikey Varas has done, like you said, from scratch, and for a new team to come into a league, his first opportunity to be a head coach at this level is very impressive, and the consistency throughout the season. He, for me, is deserving of MLS Coach of the Year as well.
Okay, so this is a nice segue, Big Tones. I do want to, I mean, who's actually been your most impressive team so far? I don't want you to miss out on that part.
Yeah, I mean, Miami, I thought Cincinnati was good last night as well. Just in the way that they've got those 3 guys up front that could be really, really dangerous, creating chances. But Inter Miami, we talked about defending. I thought they were actually really good in the defensive part of the field the other night. They shut down Surge. Mukhtar wasn't involved in the game. Like, there were a lot of positives defensively. So maybe Mascherano's figured out his rotation and what he wants to do. It's taken a little while, but this is all about Messi kind of carrying this thing, right? And taking it to the next level. All
right. Now we've got 2 segues. We could talk managers. We could talk listen, let's go to Messi. You brought him up. He just signed a new deal, Chuck, through 2028, which is going to see him help Inter Miami open up their brand new $1 billion stadium, which is going to be incredible. Not a big surprise, all things considered. But the fact that Messi is basically going to finish his career here, turn down Saudi Arabia and all the big money that they were probably offering him, going to commit 5.5 years of his career. It seems like he's going to finish. This contract would end right before he turns 42. The guy's stats are ridiculous. It's just unreal. He's going to be the first ever back-to-back MVP in MLS history. There's no denying that whenever they want to announce it. Is this a shock to you? And what do you know about any details that you think made this enticing for him?
Well, I can say I was hoping that he would extend, because for me, it seems that, one, he's still in prime form, can still take over a game, win a game, whether it's the final ball, whether it's the free kick, whether it's the dribbling 3 or 4 people and finishing top bins, he still has it all. But more importantly, I see pure happiness from the guy. And it's off the field. His kids playing in the academy, his kids enjoying this community in South Florida, his wife happy. It just seems that when your family off the field, that family balance life, the work balance life is so perfect and so in tune. Why would you disrupt that? Mm-hmm. So he's still playing with the Argentine national team, right? He has been performing well. He's got his MLS side with all his buds. They're performing well, and his family are thriving in South Florida. So I was praying, hey, when you play this well, why move and why upend everything that has been built there for your family and the community? So I think when you look at it, it's a brand new stadium, beautiful stadium. He wants to win an MLS Cup. He wants to build something there. So you need time. And it just made a lot of sense.
It feels like, too, he's taking some cues from David Beckham on how to transition successfully from on the field to off the field business in terms. He's definitely going to have ownership in Inter Miami.
Doesn't he? I was going to ask, doesn't he have ownership in the team already? There were so many components to that deal.
Can he, though? I don't know if he's allowed to do that yet.
No,
I think he has to wait
when his career ends.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he has the same type of clause that David Beckham had in his contract, where he can own another organization, I believe. Like he could
figure that out.
We have to get some clarity on that, because
either way,
you probably can't have it now. But wouldn't it be weird if he went from like playing 2.5 years at Inter Miami, then you go somewhere else, and then you come back and own Inter Miami at the end of your career?
they're going to want to stay associated with him for as long as possible.
So, but
why wouldn't you?
Thank Beckham to Galaxy forever, and then he's like, nah, Galaxy were nice, but I'm going to go to South Florida and create this incredible organization in Miami. So it could happen for Messi too.
Yeah, it could. 100%. All right. So in a rare interview with just in general, he doesn't do a lot of sit-down interviews. Lionel Messi sat down with NBC Nightly News' anchor Tom Llamas at the Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. He talked about his future with the national team. Basically said, I'll play in the World Cup. He's going to play in the World Cup next summer.
He's playing in it.
He just said he wants to make sure he's healthy before he makes any hard decisions on that. Another thing, too, is during this interview, he mentioned that he thinks that MLS should loosen the spending restrictions. We feel like anytime a big DP comes over, a big name, they're like, we just let everybody spend, So that was interesting to see him kind of dive into that part of the conversation. And then ultimately the other big one was he just loves living in Miami. His family loves living there. And to your point, Chuck, why would you want to disrupt that by going anywhere else if this is all kind of set up the way? But your thoughts on his thoughts on MLS's salary cap, Chuck?
How often have we spoken about MLS needing to
take the handcuffs off?
Right. Well, you don't have to go crazy where now there are some teams in financial trouble because they outspend what they actually can afford, right? I get you want to protect the league and protect the sanctity within each club and the structure financially, but at the same time, we got to see more DPs. We got to see, and maybe the DP thing is lifted so you can spend however you want to spend across your club with a minimum. And maybe there is a maximum for 5 or 6 players, but ultimately, if you want to build with young talent or you want to bring in experienced veterans who have done it, who are maybe in, late 20s, early 30s, that you feel, hey, we want to bring in some proven winners now versus maybe some young guys who we're not sure of, but they have this great potential where we can sell them for 20 to 30 million. Great, but allow that flexibility. And for me, yes, there's got to, if Neymar wanted to join, let's just say Neymar wanted to join, which I wouldn't recommend for Inter Miami to sign Neymar. They need like a Virgil van Dijk, not a Neymar. But you want teams to continue to use this momentum, especially the World Cup coming here, to continue to bring in top players from every area of the spectrum, young and potential to proven, selling tickets and someone that's going to raise the quality of the league.
Now, Big Toes, this might be a question that's bigger than the last couple minutes of a show, but if we raise the salary cap, does that impact the American player negatively? Could you foresee a path where that could impact the opportunities of the American player? Not to say, hey, listen, they just got to play better. They have to play better. The infrastructure is getting better, and as we know, and as Chuck, even with Chuck's under 10s, we know the future is very bright. But
hey, what does England do? What does England do?
Yeah, what rules have been changed over the last couple of years that have helped the American player? Right, the more money you spend, I mean, in general, they're not going to do what we did with Michael Bradley, what we did with Clint Dempsey, and bringing those types of guys back. Josie Altidore, we're not seeing a lot of that. Maybe we will see it after the World Cup, but in general, the rules have helped bring more foreign players in, right? Which the league is about entertainment, right? The league's responsibility is not the national team. The league's responsibility is to take care of your own business. Will it hurt ultimately, I think is your question, right? The American player? Probably. But to your other point, like, go and be one of the best 11 players on your team, right? Exactly. Every week. Like, that's your job, right? Is to go and compete and be a guy that the coach is depending on all the time. So, I mean, there's a fine line, right? In all of this conversation, there's, you want to see them spend, you want to see them. I almost think I would take the handcuffs off, if you will, if you want to use that term. For a lot of these teams, I'd make a minimum spend for a lot of these teams.
Raise the floor, right?
Because I don't know all the owners. We don't know all the owners personally, but I don't get the sense that we have a bunch of owners that will outspend whatever they want. And then what we've seen this year, take Atlanta United. They spend $50 million in the attack, and they don't win they can't get to the playoffs. So money spent chasing players that aren't fitting a system is not good money spent.
Yeah.
So there's a different way to do it. There's multiple ways to do it in our league. But yeah, I don't know that just because you spend more money you're going to get better as a team. That's what you got to figure out. But I'm okay. I get Messi sentiment, and we're going to continue to hear it. And it keeps getting, let's call it better and better, or we're equating it to money. So there's more money and more money and more money being spent, right? And we're all great at spending the owner's money, no matter what. Well, I'm a Milan fan. I spend $250 million every transfer window in my head, But yeah, there's a fine line when you talk about the American player part, Jimmy.
No, I know, and I think that is a topic for another conversation, but it felt ripe to kind of talk about it there. Chuck, we're going to save your answer on that for later. Let's talk about MLS coaching carousel, because there has been 7 changes already. Now, listen, when 2025 started, there were already 12 changes from the year before, 13 if you include Mikey Vars at San Diego. That's a lot of turnover from year to year. And now that we have 7 names, we have Atlanta United fired Ronnie Dyla, New York Red Bulls just fired Sandra Schwartz, Colorado Rapids just parted ways with Chris Armas, New England Revolution fired Caleb Porter earlier on. They're going to replace their interim head coach. Sporting Kansas City and St. Louis City are all doing the same. And Steve Cherundolo announced that he was going to leave after the season for a while. So they're going to be bringing in somebody. That's going to be a big hire for John Thornton, who did a nice job of bringing in Sun Heung Min, among other players. Lots of job opportunities. So I guess you two are working the phones, huh? Hey, listen, me and Chuck, we got our UEFA coaching badges. What do you guys think? But that's a lot of turnover, Chuck. What are you saying about, and I assume there's going to be 1 or 2 more names before the end of the season, or once guys get knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah, well, we're starting to see pressure, right? When you take a coaching job in Major League Soccer, there's a pressure not only to win, but to play a certain style that's that you'd say, oh, they're fun to watch. That's entertaining. What we're seeing Eric Ramsey doing it with Minnesota, that's terrible to watch. Who the hell would want to watch
but
that?
He's clearly efficient, right? So
Yeah,
that's
great,
the hard
sure,
part. That's the balance.
Like defend with 10 and have one guy up top. For me, we're starting to see coaches be given an opportunity, and great. But some of the old coaches that just continue to kind of be passed around, and they're in this like continued cycle. I'm so sick of it. I want to see new faces. I want to see some of the younger guys who have been cutting their teeth with different ideas get an opportunity. I want guys like Tony Meola, who hasn't been given an opportunity, to be given an opportunity, who have been around the game forever, who have helped build our youth national teams, who have, where we had success, but be given an opportunity. Like, there are too many of the same types of people with the same friend groups, like the same opportunities, and we think we're gonna see something different. It's almost like, what did you expect? This guy failed here. This guy failed here. This guy failed here. How is he gonna have success now? And the excuse of, oh, they didn't manage before. They didn't have they weren't a head coach of a full team. That's your barometer. So if someone's failed 5 times as a head coach because they got their opportunity, they're still ahead of somebody who has been an assistant manager, who's cut their teeth, who's been grinding, who's ready for that moment, who has a better understanding of this next generation. For me, that's kind of what grinds my gears, is that we don't see enough opportunities given to new talent. And I get there's demands. I want to win now versus building something. But I think Mikey Varas is a great example of someone who was with the youth national team. He never coached professionally before. And here he is at the end of his season of all times, where your quote unquote star player makes a big beef, and all of a sudden you have to handle it internally, and you take him out of the squad and you win in a playoff game. That's a big decision. And he gets it right. So why not give more guys in this country an opportunity to coach? And we talk about American players. Well, they understand the American system. They understand the American players. They can give those opportunities versus, someone coming in saying, I'm going to stick with my European guys and bring in European youth talent. Well, there's got to be a balance.
We've seen that fail a few times. Ruud Gullit in LA Galaxy stands out. So Big Tones, we're giving you the call it what you want coaching bump here. You saw all the jobs that are open. Which job do you think you'd be the best fit for?
I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. But I do want to expand on Charlie's point. Like, take like the last two, right, between Colorado and the Red Bulls. You got Michael Bradley at the Red Bulls right now doing his thing in the youth academy. Like, so in that logic, he's become a candidate, it seems like. Just inherently, right? I imagine if you're around Michael Bradley and you're watching him work every day and you're molding him I'll say the Red Bull way that you want to mold him, they probably like who he is, right? And might have an opportunity to he'd be a young guy that gets an opportunity. He's cut his teeth a little bit in that. These jobs are hard to come by. We all have friends that are in this coaching business, in this coaching carousel. And they talk about how, and a lot of them get frustrated when they go to an interview and they say, nah, we're just going to go with a foreign guy. Like, I'm with you, Chuck, there with the balance part of it. Should there be foreigners in our league? No doubt about it.
For sure.
Have American coaches been passed up that were probably better choices just because the ownership group wanted to go with a foreign guy? No question in my mind has that happened time and time again with guys. So we'll see what happens in this round. Remember, we have this round. We had who else at the beginning of the year? There was a change in DC, right, this year already.
DC. How many times do they have to get a hire wrong? How many times can they do it in a row? Are they trying to set a record? It's been dreadful.
Yeah,
I feel so bad for the DC United supporters. That has been an absolute train wreck.
Yeah,
and I guess in Montreal, right, they gave Donadell now the head coaching job, but he was the caretaker manager there. So yeah, look, they're tough jobs. None of them are easy. I love the people who say, "Oh, this is such a crap league," but it's really easy to get. If it's such a crap league, then it's really hard to coach, right? Because then you got to coach, right? And then you got to figure out a way to win games. Like, you can't have it both ways, like you can't be on both sides of the fence with that. But yeah, look, some of our friends their names will be involved in these coaching searches and all of that stuff. And the only one we kind of knew for a while was Steve Cherundolo leaving. All of these have been sort of late to the party. I guess New England was a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, how do you feel about Tata Martino potentially rejoining Atlanta United?
I would tell you this. I would always, just as a fan of sports, has nothing to do with MLS, has nothing to do. I'm a Yankee fan. I saw Billy Martin come back like 25 times. Like, I'm really weary of the second time around. Like, I just am in general. But this has nothing to do with Tata Martino. I think if I were running teams, like, I wouldn't my brain wouldn't start that way. It would have to be. Yeah, especially after you win, like, and then because now you're just, and you should, I guess, if you spend $50 million, but now there's only one thing that could satisfy you at that point, right? One, that's it. There's no getting knocked out in the finals, like losing in the finals, being the best playing team. None of that. It doesn't matter. You got to win the championship, and I know that's the goal for everybody, but the standard is set so high. You don't have a guy where you're like, yeah, Charlie, I'm going to give Charlie Davies a chance here. We're going to build something here. There's none of that. Like, you got to go right to the top.
Yeah, can you win with this current squad right now? Like, Chuck, that's what we want.
Chuck, Big Tones just said you're probably not going to get a job. Just to break it to you. You're not going to give you a chance, man. You got to win right now. Not going to give you time to figure it out. All right, that's it. We're calling it a show. Thank you for hanging out with us. As always, plenty to talk about. We're excited to dive into it with you as always. Come back and join us again on Thursday here live on the Golasso America YouTube channel at 10 a.m. Eastern. And have a good couple days, and we'll see you then. Later.